In Valmiki's telling of Ramayana, King Janaka, who is a philosopher king of Mithila, is doing a sacred ritual in a field where he's plowing the field. And he finds a baby girl in a furrow. He adopts her and names her Sita, which literally means furrow. So Ma Sita in Ramayana is not coming of a human lineage. She's coming directly of earth. She's whole and unquestioned because she's coming from something which is whole. And the soil birth makes something visible which would otherwise remain hidden to our limited human perception. Because if we zoom out, not just 2 or 3 generations, but millions and billions of years, we will find that every form of life here emerged on Mother Earth. In this way, we can all relate to Ma Sita. Now, why is Earth whole? The Earth transcends all the divisions of caste, race, gender, etc. that we hold in our human mind. In Devi Mahatmyam, Earth is described as the body of the goddess who is Purna, inexhaustible in giving. Earth is complete, Purna, not because she is flawless, but she holds opposites. She could be fertile, but she could also be barren. She is nourishing as well as devouring. She can grow lotuses in her waters as well as sea snakes. She holds both what is known as well as what is unknown to us. Her oceans remain mostly unknown. Wholeness here means totality, inclusiveness, and not flawlessness or perfection. And for Ma Sita, this means that she transcends human lineage, social judgment, as well as moral codes of purity. In Valmiki's Ramayana, Ma Sita's life is marked more by exile than by any palatial luxury. She marries Lord Rama in a Swayamvara after he strings the great bow of Shiva, which is an impossible feat that no other warrior could accomplish. But soon after their marriage, the demands of Dharma send Lord Rama away from Ayodhya for 14 years. Ma Sita chooses to go with him, leaving behind comfort and royalty to share his uncertain path in the wilderness. For nearly 13 years, she lives in the forest with Lord Rama and Lakshmana, moving from hermitage to hermitage, meeting sages and ascetics, as well as demons. It is during this exile that her great ordeal begins. One day, Lord Rama and Lakshmana are lured into chasing a golden deer and are drawn away from Ma Sita. And during this time, Ravana, the king of Lanka, appears and abducts Ma Sita. She is carried across the ocean to Lanka and she is confined in Ashoka Vatika, where she consistently faces threats, loneliness, and temptations of wealth and power sent by Ravana. Yet she holds her ground with strength and dignity. When Ravana is finally slain by Lord Ram and she is brought back, it is not peace that awaits her. She has to undergo Agni Pariksha, the trial by fire, to prove her continuous commitment to Lord Ram and to the kingdom of Ayodhya as their queen. Fire in Indian thought is not merely flames. It is the witness of truth, the purifier that spares only what is real. And so Ma Sita emerges untouched by fire, and it reveals her stainless essence. But even this does not end her trials. Back in Ayodhya, there are whispers that even though she is the one who has suffered, can we accept a queen who has lived in another man's house? Can we trust her? It is not easy to hold this polarity that she's been captive in the enemy's zone, but she could still be pure. The external doubt wins over internal truth, and she is out again. This time she is pregnant, and she seeks refuge in the hermitage of sage Valmiki, the author of this Ramayana himself. There she gives birth to her sons Love and Kush and raises them in the simplicity of the forest. Her sons Love and Kush grow into warriors of astonishing courage. When they halt the horse of Ram's sacrifice at one point, their strength holds even his greatest warriors at bay. Only then does Lord Rama recognize them as his own son and then longs for reunion with Ma Sita. And yet, the suspicions are still lingering in the air. So she is asked to once more prove her purity. At this point, Ma Sita has fulfilled all her worldly responsibilities of being a mother, a wife, a queen, in the best way that she could. So she is no longer attached. She turns to her true mother and declares, "If I am pure, let the earth receive me." The ground opens and she is absorbed back into the soil. This closing act is so profound. After fulfilling her dharma, this is where Ma Sita longs to return. She wants to dissolve into this unconditional ground of being that never questions. Ma Sita's return to earth at this point is an act of sovereignty, and the timing really matters. The feminine does not long for the same things at every stage of life. She follows the rhythms of the earth, the rhythms of her body. By the time Love and Kush are grown, Ma Sita's path has already shifted. She no longer carries those same worldly desires. Years of exile, of dwelling in forests, of living close to sages and ascetics have already drawn her inward. And so it is only natural that at this moment, Ma Sita wants to return to Mother Earth, who always received her, who always held her close. Her journey mirrors our soul's journey, in me, in you, in everyone. In Indian philosophy, especially Vedanta, Jainism, the soul is described in two ways. The first is the Ātman, the eternal essence, which is unchanging. It is undying and unborn and is completely whole. The second is the Jīva, the individual soul which takes birth, undergoes pain and pleasure, collects karma, and experiences the trials of life. Every being is at once both Ātman in essence, but Jīva in experience. What makes Ma Sita unique is that her life dramatizes this truth. She is born of earth, unquestioned and whole. And yet, in her life, she goes through trials, exile in forest, captivity in Lanka, suspicion back home. In her Jīva form, she is tested and is burdened by circumstance. In the end, it is as though the Jīva realizes its Ātman nature, and now it does not want to play these worldly games. It wants to just rest in its eternal source. We must learn to hold both these truths together, because if we see her only in the Jīva form, we might look at her just as a victim whose life was full of tragedies. But if we see her only in the Ātman form, we might bypass her ordeal, her suffering, with platitudes of purity. To see both together is to understand the paradox of our soul. Human suffering is real, but it does not define our deepest essence. Carl Jung spoke of the psychoid dimension of matter, the level where psyche and nature are not separate. At this depth, the same patterns we call archetypes in dreams and human imagination are also present in the natural world. earth is not inert. She is alive with soul. Ma Sita's story shows how this archetypal drama between ego and soul might unfold within human relationships as well as in our living relationship with nature. To Lord Rama, Ma Sita is the Anima, the inner feminine principle that the ego longs for but cannot accept or control. The ego longs for her because she provides what it lacks: depth, vitality, soul. But she does not provide certainty, order, control. That is the reason why the ego cannot accept her. But to the earth, Ma Sita is more than that. She is Anima Mundi, the soul of creation itself. The Anima Mundi is an ancient idea that the cosmos is alive. It is infused with a single soul that binds together humans, nature, and the divine. In Ma Sita, this truth is embodied. But we must remember that it is not that Ma Sita's birth is required for the earth to be ensouled. It is for us, humans, that through narrative, we acknowledge this archetypal tension between the ego and the soul and be guided by it in terms of our own individuation. Ma Sita is worshipped alongside Lord Rama. Lord Rama is not only a king, but he is the solar incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who is the sustainer of cosmic order, the preserver of cosmic balance. His counterpart cannot be an ordinary princess, because if she were, this would just be about power and politics. She must be universal. She must be the earth's own soul, the living Lakshmi, without whom Lord Vishnu cannot act. Only then does this narrative rise into dharma. She is Ma Lakshmi's avatar. So her essence is Ātman, but her life unfolds on this earthly plane. Being an avatar means the divine takes a human form, enters flesh and blood, and walks through all the trials that define human life. Lord Rama goes through loss, doubt, exile, even though he is Lord Vishnu himself. Ma Sita suffers captivity, suspicion, rejection, even though she is Ma Lakshmi herself. So when we say she is Ma Lakshmi, it is not to erase her pain, but to affirm that the soul of the world, the abundance, that wholeness, entered human life fully. And yet, precisely because she is Ma Lakshmi, her final act of return to the earth carried sovereign power. She chose the only ground of being that accepted her whole, that accepted her unconditionally. Like her, our own return, again and again, is always to that same wholeness that holds us all. Thank you so much for joining me in this exploration. I have recently opened my YouTube memberships. Please consider joining and subscribing to support me. And if this video nourished you in any way, please share it with your friends and family members and do give it a like. I'll see you in the next video.